Hello, welcome to Photography with Andrew Lanxon. You're going to get filthy. In today's video, I am using my new favourite macro flash in this scene to take a shot just like this. So I won't bury the lead, my new favourite macro flash is the Godox V1. Now, right at the top of the video, I will say there is no sponsorship here, no money has changed hands between me and Godox. I bought this with my own money, but I think it is great, and there's several reasons why. Now, first of all, it's a standard speedlight style flash gun, so I can, if I want to, put it on the camera and fire away just like that. And I know a lot of macro shooters really prefer having their flash on camera using a diffuser cone in order to get well-lit shots. But if you've watched my channel for a while, then you know I tend not to do that. Most of my images I take with my flash off camera. Now with my Canon flash, that's usually pretty tricky to do unless I buy a very expensive flash trigger, but the Godox system is much more affordable. So under my camera, I do have the X Pro C controller, and that gives full wireless functionality with this flash. The great thing is though, is that it also gives wireless functionality to the AD100, the AD200 and my AD600 studio strobes. So I can use this at the same time as I'm using my much bigger flashes. So that makes this one little light very, very versatile, but it is also really powerful. So it is great for working with macro just like this. Okay, I've introduced what the flash is. Let's actually take some photos. Now, I've been in this forest all day. It is an amazing place. I've walked through the footpaths. I've found other images that I'm putting into other videos, but this one caught my eye and it's so special that I really felt it deserved a call out in its own video. I've got this beautiful little mushroom in pristine condition, and it's sort of sandwiched inside this old log with a lovely bit on top covered in moss and a lovely bit on the bottom covered in moss. So it is a great little scene, and I've been playing around with how I can actually put this into a composition, how I can balance the ambient light, and to be honest, because it is quite dim under here, even though it's a relatively blue sky day, I'm underneath the tree canopy, so it's quite dark. And I found that just using the natural light, the scene is a little bit underwhelming, and that's why I want to bring in the light. Now, I think the scene's going to lend itself really well to be lit with flash, because not only do we have the beautiful mushroom right on the front of this log, but there's a whole gap behind it. And that's great, because that's going to mean that I can actually bring my light behind the mushroom. And as a result, it's going to backlight it. It's going to cast that light onto the mushroom, creating an amazing edge and hopefully helping it really stand out from its background. Another thing I like about this light is that it does have LED modeling lights. And that means it's great because I can actually start to bring this light into the scene. And we can see if I lit it up from the front, it's just a little bit harsh and we're not casting any light on the background here. But as I bring it around, coming into the back, and suddenly we start to light it up a little bit more like this, you can see that we can get some really nice looks here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by just popping it maybe down here in the grass, that's fine, and it's going to fire up through this hole, just up through here, and it's going to light up that mushroom, I think, really nicely. So I've currently got the flash set to its lowest power, and my settings right now, I am at f2.8, a 30th of a second, ISO 100. I'm going to back it away, the camera, that is, a little bit. Interesting. So I do like that. I like that shot quite a lot because we've got the ambient light on the mosses on the top of the log, and then we've just got this beam of light coming in from our flash in the background. But I'm just going to slightly refine the composition on my tripod. Now, speaking of a tripod, as you can see, I have inverted the center column in order to get my camera as close to the ground as I can, simply because this mushroom is so low, and if I had the camera on the top of the tripod, I just wouldn't be able to get it down low enough. Unfortunately, even though the flash is at its its dimmest power, it's still a little too bright. So I'm going to pop on my Magmod Mag Sphere, and that's going to help soften that light a little bit, but it's also going to take off about a stop of power. So I'm going to take that same shot again, and I much prefer that already. I think that looks really, really good. I really love how it's just giving that beautiful edge light onto the mushroom. But because our ambient light, our shutter speed, is set so low, we're still capturing the light on top of here. Now, if I were to take that shutter speed much, much higher, let's say up to 200th of a second, and take that shot, we really start to dim down our ambient light, and as a result, we really just focus the light on the mushroom itself. Now, I don't really want to do that, to be honest, because part of the joy of this scene is seeing all of these lovely mosses as well. I mean, to be honest, there is something to be said about a super minimalist dark shot where you just see that edge of the mushroom. But no, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm going to stick at about f3.2, shutter speed a 60th of a second. But if I can't make the light any less powerful, I just have to bring it slightly further away from the scene. So I'm going to move it back to about here. Now, unfortunately, if I just moved it straight back in a straight line, it would be below the line where I need it to be. So, and if it's too low, then it's not going to shine back onto our mushroom. So I'm hoping that here it's still going to be fine. And indeed it is. Yeah, it is. It's lighting up nicely. We're not getting much light on the mushroom on the front, but I don't think that matters here. I'm going to drop my shutter speed a bit more just to bring in a little bit more of that ambient light. So I'm at a 30th of a second now, f3.2, ISO 100. And I really like that. I think that works really nicely as a shot. Bringing it back, and to be honest, at this point, I'm quite far away from the mushroom. So I suppose in many ways, this isn't really a macro shot, but it started out as one, and I'm sure you can still appreciate what we're going for. I definitely think that just having this little kiss of edge light is helping it stand out, because if I took this same shot with no flash, you can see that it's very, very dark inside there, and all you can just see is that little bit of front cap on the mushroom. So having that light really does make a huge, huge difference to our image. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to try a few more shots, and I'm going to try putting on my 35mm macro, and that's just going to let me get a bit closer to the mushroom, but still keeping all of that nice context. So the 35 is on, but I need to move much closer to this mushroom as a result. But I'm not going to change my settings because it should be basically the same as with the other lens. So f3.2, a 30th of a second. And that's okay, but the problem is that actually now, I don't know whether it's because maybe the cloud cover has changed, but the front of the image, the side of the log that we're seeing, is just too dark. So it means that that mushroom light at the back stands out far too much. Now I could just increase my shutter speed or decrease it, make it longer to a 1/10 of a second. And that does sort of balance out a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the 100 was the better way to go here. I don't love this composition, but at least the thing is that I can move the camera around, refine that scene without needing to move the light. So the angle of that light coming through that hole isn't changing, its power isn't changing, my settings aren't changing. It's just about moving that lens. I'm trying to find a position that I think it looks good, and honestly right now I'm struggling a little bit more than I thought I was going to when I first saw this. Ooh, I quite like that actually. It helps that we have just had a big cloud go over, so right now the ambient light in here is very low. I'm going to sit on this bag and get right down into it and get rid of my tripod. I'll see if I can get better shots hand holding it, because I think these might be better. And I am just trying to refine this scene a bit more, and I'm going to do that further by manually focusing now right on the cap of the mushroom. Yeah, I like these. I think these are looking good. I'm at an 1/8 of a second because it's your shutter speed that controls how much light is present in the scene, your ambient light. And no matter what you do with your shutter speed, that isn't going to affect the power of your light, which means that I can really go for a longer shutter speed here, 1/4 of a second, in order to get a lot more ambient light in, but it's not changing the flash power. But if I went very fast, let's say 1/100th of a second, now all we're getting is the flash, but it doesn't look good. So I'm sticking at 1/10th of a second, I think. I really like these. I've got the camera basically in some of this mossiness, creating this lovely out of focus foreground. And if I took this without the flash, let's have a look. It would be so dark, you barely see that mushroom. Well, you can see it, but it doesn't stand out at all. But as soon as we add in that pop of flash, it really stands out. Really kind of shoving the camera into this moss. Then I'm manually focusing, again, every time on the tip of that mushroom. Yeah, maybe going a little bit below. I'm going to be covered in all kinds of nonsense when I get out of this, aren't I? Oh yeah. It looks cool though. It's worth it. Don't mind getting grubby if there's a good shot to be had. Hello, welcome to Photography with Andrew Lanxon. You're going to get filthy. So one thing I have noticed, I've taken my aperture down to f1.8. As a result, we're not getting much of the mushroom in focus. I've focused on the front of the cap, but it means that that focus quickly goes blurry towards the back of the mushroom. Now, you can't use the automated focus stacking that the Canon R5 has when you're using flash, but you can do it the old-fashioned way by simply focusing, taking a shot, refocusing, taking a shot, refocusing, taking a shot, and so on. Eventually, you'll get to the back, and we can blend our images together to get a nice shot that hopefully is nice and in focus. Okay, I've taken loads of the flash in this angle. I'm going to move it slightly, just see if I can refine it even further. Either that, or I'll lie back down in this moss and have a sleep. Back down I go. So, now if I've moved the light to be very much behind it. Ooh, no. No, 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 no. Don't like that at all. Doesn't work as a direct backlight. So, now I like this scene because I'm using the 35. It's really wide, so it's giving me so much more context of this mushroom being in the forest in all these trees. I'm shooting up at this log. We've got the cross section of the log, the trees above. It definitely looks cool. Again, I'm just going to zoom in, focus on that, on the mushroom cap, just double check that it's nice and in focus, which it is. It's very subtle, of course, on the mushroom because the mushroom itself is such a tiny part of the scene. You know, really it's not macro, but it is very much kind of showing the mushroom off within this beautiful environment. What you might notice is that when working with flash, or at least the way I work with flash, is that it's a total trial and error process. And I can take many, many, many shots of the same subject, just adjusting one little position of the light, a little position of the camera, then I tweak the settings, and the whole process starts again. It's just seeing what that shot looks like on the camera, and then thinking about how you can refine that a little bit further. And the tiniest millimeter, or inch maybe, in movement of the light can completely transform what that final shot looks like. So it's so important not to just go in and take one shot and consider it done, but instead really think about how you can refine it, how moving that light around can help you get a better shot. And to be fair, these look pretty good. But maybe I'm going to also bring this, try one while I'm here, coming in from the other side, lighting it up much more from the front. I mean, yeah, it works. Certainly lights things up. Do I like it as much? No, not really. I think I prefer the backlight. Ideally, I'd have two. One there and the backlight. That way I'd get that amazing edge light from our backlight, but still get that nice fill flash coming from here. But I've only brought one with me. Now you could also combine those two images in post, but I'll be honest, I can't be bothered. So there's my other big tip. Sometimes you have to be bothered. Oh, my back. Oh, but the sky. Okay. Oh. Honestly, my skeleton can't take this. And I've got stuff on my hat. Right, okay, I'm going to take a couple more, but I am going to pop my tripod back on because the shot that I'm getting, I just think really requires it, because I want to do a little bit of focus stacking just to make sure that mushroom is pin sharp, and I can't do that down here handheld. It's just too much for my body to take. Oh. Maybe I'm just not a healthy man. Maybe that's what's up. If anything's worth a nice comment and a like, it's got to be all this. Where was I? Somewhere like this, I think. I'll still need to lay down like this, apparently. I need to raise the camera a little bit on the central stem, and we can also bring the whole thing forward slightly. Excuse the horribly unflattering angle, but I'll be honest, whether or not it looks good for me is the last thing on my mind right now. Anyway, the shot I'm looking at basically is using a lot of shallow depth of field. I've got the lens positioned quite close to this sort of this front bit of wood, and is really kind of following the line of this log going back. The mushroom in the middle. I think it's a great looking scene, and I think that this is probably my favorite composition so far. So I'm going to focus stack. I'm starting right on the very front tip of the mushroom's cap. I'm going to zoom in, adjust that focus slightly, zoom in again, adjust that focus slightly, and again, until either I get all the shots I want or my skeleton gives way. I think we're good. I think I've got what I need. I won't get up. Well, that does bring me to an end, because I'm pretty sure my spine will give out in any moment. So I need to go do some stretches or something. But I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I actually work with flash. I know this video is probably going to come across as being a bit rough, because there's just lots of trial and error in taking basically one photo. But for me, that is often how I work. It's really a case of doing all those refinements, and I can take hundreds of images of the same subject before I actually get one that I think, yes, that is the one that I want. That's why working with smaller flashes like these is really good, because it's so easy to move them around. If I did have to, it'd be very easy to control them with the same trigger and find out what works best in terms of the positioning. And I really think that the V1 is a great flash, simply because it can be used off camera like this, but also I only need to bring the one flash if I also want something on camera. Whereas the AD200 and the AD100, which I've used a lot, I can't put those on camera. They're only off-camera flashes. So this is a little bit best of both worlds. And that's why I think going forwards, this flash is going to be in my kit bag way more than the other ones. But if you have any more questions about Flash, then do please leave them in the comments below. And of course, if there are particular bits of working with lighting that you would like me to do more on, then please let me know that too, because I could come back and address that in more detail in a future video. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please do me the kind favor of giving this video a nice thumbs up, and of course consider subscribing to my channel if you don't already, and I will see you next time. I'm gonna have a bath. Ooh, I've also got a cream egg. Lovely.